Merry Christmas, early Happy New Year, and I'll take any questions you may have. Okay.
How impressive was that kick from McManus, that long one, considering the conditions the other night?
It's in his wheelhouse, and so I think he kind of gave us the line going both ways in pregame. He had a really good pregame set. He felt comfortable at that distance, at that spot, and coach was good with it. So I thought the operation was good, the protection was good. So the rest was up to him.
Do you ever feel what he could be good for or from indoors? Like, could you tell in the Detroit game, was it more than 55 or 57?
Well, we have a good feel, and we have an indoor facility, so I think we have a good handle on where he'd be good from.
What that might be?
Yeah,
Can
I know
you
what
see?
it is.
Huh?
I know what it is.
Oh, I think you reveal.
No, I'd rather not.
Well, how are the Vikings going to challenge you this week?
What's that?
How are the Vikings going to challenge you this week?
It's the biggest thing always is protecting the punter. We go into every game with that in mind. These guys have been a really good punt rush team, and they got a good punt returner. They've got a really good punter. Their rookie kicker's playing really well. So it's always a challenge to go play there with the noise and the crowd, the fan base that they have, and it's a great rivalry game, right? So that's the challenge. Go on the road, play a great rivalry game with two teams. It means a lot too. So that's the challenge for us.
Rich, what did you think of just the game that Eric Wilson had on Monday night where he's playing, I think, every snap defensively? I think he led you guys to special teams and in playing time as well.
Yeah, I think for Eric, it's become he's playing high school game. He never comes off the field, and he doesn't want to come off the field. That's the other thing. He's played multiple positions for us on punt. He plays all over the place for us on kickoff. He's a stalwart blocker for us on kickoff return, and then he kind of runs the punt return team. Him and Zane kind of do it both depending on the call. So I know he's in supreme physical condition. He's always mentally prepared to do all those things in a game, and he's really just having a heck of a year. Certainly as a great teammate, as a leader. Not only in special teams, but what he's doing for us on defense.
Rich, you get to know these guys really well, the ones that play for you as core special teamers. When a guy like Zane gets an opportunity defensively and you see what he's done, there's been a bunch of examples of that throughout the season. I know it leaves you maybe a little more shorthanded and you have to juggle, but how do you feel when you see guys that are they're paying their dues, they have their opportunity and they seize it?
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Zane, I know to some people it might be a surprise. I don't know. But for me, what I see from Zane is he prepares every week like he's going to start at safety. So when he does, to him, it's commonplace. You watch the way he practices, the way he takes his reps, whether he's on the scout team or whether he's on the team. And then when he gets his opportunity to play, I think a couple of weeks ago he ended up playing a bunch as well and played well in the game. So I don't think it's a surprise to him because of the way he prepares mentally and physically to play. And then, what he's done for us on special teams, again, a lot like Eric. And, him and Coop have been leading us in special teams tackles, and they do some different things for each other during the course of the game on kickoff. So I'm excited for him. I know we all are, in-house here, excited for him. But I think it's part of Coach LaFleur's thing. Everybody says next man up, but what we've seen throughout the year here with us is the next guy that comes up, whether it's been offensively, defensively, or defensively, has been prepared mentally and physically to go play, and the expectation is that they play well. And I think so far that's what we've seen from our players.
You guys good?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it.
purpose.
He needed to talk to Wicks today.
Did you guys have a good breakdown?
Yeah.
Good.
That was yesterday for you?
Yesterday was good. We actually got the morning to spend with our families, which was awesome. And then we just kind of pushed through the night a little bit longer, but that was really cool. That's important for all of us. So that was a lot of fun. Thanks for asking.
A question and then a follow-up.
Yeah, who's stopping you?
What was your takeaway from the Detroit game? You know, they just kind of screened you guys to death in that game.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from that part of it?
From the screen game?
Yeah.
That we needed to get better at stopping screens. But when you really watch that game, I mean, we were really close on a couple of them to get them down early, and we just missed. So I saw improvement from where we were to that game. I thought we got better from previously to that game and playing the screen game. Although it didn't show, I felt better about it, and then we continued to work it, and I think we're still getting better at it. So I thought that was a starting point where maybe the result didn't show, but I thought the process did, and we just got to keep working at it to get better. They're hard to stop, but you know, I think the group's doing a really good job of getting better at defending them.
What's the challenge of stopping a screen and as a play caller of trying to anticipate it or give an alert about it?
Yeah, you study. Well, first, what's hard about it from a playing standpoint is, you know, you start getting up the field and rushing, right? And all of a sudden the back slips in and they find space there. And then if you're in zone coverage, those guys are pretty deep. So picture the D-line going up the field, right? And then picture the under coverage dropping, say 10 and 12 yards deep. Now you have a huge gap in space between the second level and the D-line. So when the D-line tries to retrace, they're further away. And when that second level tries to go press it and contain it, there's just a lot of space in the open field. And so that's hard, right? And then sometimes you can be in a man call, which might be good. So, you know, say you're the back, which I think we did this before, but say you're the back and I have to cover you. If I can get you in time before you catch the screen, we might be able to get it down. But if I don't and I get blocked and everyone else is run off, now there's not very many guys to get the screen down. So you're trying to look at different ways to stop the screen. Last week we called the blitz, we called the simulated pressure when Keyshawn got the sack. And actually the defensive end who was dropping, it was just like one of those things we kind of right place, right time, right? He was right there, so he got the tight end to where they were trying to throw the screen to, and he had nowhere to go, and then Keyshawn hit the ball. So there's various different ways to stop him. And then as far as studying them, it's, you know, it's down distance, field position, who's in the game, and you try to take some shots. And, you know, I think everybody in the country, third and extra long, and everybody's saying screen alert, right? Try to get back on track, or second and extra long, try to get half the distance sometimes with the screen alert. But it's the teams that pop them anywhere, anytime, anywhere on the field. You know, that makes it harder. So they're tough. But that's a good question.
Thanks.
How has Cox gone from 9 games as a healthy scratch to, I think, since you guys traded Preston, he's top 10 in the league in sacks and pressures. That can't be easy to do, right?
No, but it just shows when we sat up here, whenever it was, right before he was about to get in, and we wanted him to get in. I clearly remember the day watching him on the look team, and our guys were having trouble blocking him. You know, so it's a guy buying in, getting better. You know, I think Rebs, Vio, and Wendell have done a really good job coaching him and pushing him, right? But then he gets better and he takes advantage of his reps against our starting offensive line. Then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, they had a tough time blocking him today. Then all of a sudden the conversation becomes, this guy has earned the right to play. And that's our job, right? To play the guys who are improving and show us that they're getting better and they bought in and they're going to help us win games. Because ultimately, it's the only thing we care about, right? Getting these guys better, winning football games. And he earned the right, and it doesn't surprise me what he's doing right now. And the beautiful thing is he's getting better, though, because he's getting game reps. And the jump he's made from his first game until now that he's actually played, I mean, we keep playing him more and more, and he keeps showing up. He knows what he's doing. He's confident in what he's doing, and he's playing really fast, and he's a very talented player. And I love the way he practices every day. He had another day like that today. I mean, just coming from watching the film, he was so disruptive again. I think you're going to continue to see improvement with him. But that is a credit to him, and he earned it.
What do you think his strengths are as an edge rusher?
He's athletic. He's got speed. He's got good speed to power. He's strong, and he showed that he can finish. And he's getting good at running games, too. which has been fun to watch.
Remember right, their tight end didn't play against you guys the first time, if I remember that right. What does he add to their, and they have the running back, they got multiple receivers, and now with him, what does
Yeah, I mean, it makes it hard with the ball distribution, right? Whether it's going to Jefferson or whether it's going to Addison or whether it's going to Jones, and now you have the tight end to worry about. He's big, he's athletic. It's like having another big wideout out there, and he's a great target for the quarterback to get the ball to. I think anytime in football you got good wideouts and you have the element of a good tight end, kind of like we do, I mean, I think it's a threat, and you got to be aware of it, whether it's in zone or man. Who's going to match up on him in man? You know, there's certain zones where, you know, you got to get him down too. I mean, he's a strong runner. He's a really good football player.
Jeff, going back to Matt's questions about Cox, you know, every coaching staff talks about next man up, but you lose Evan and Zane goes in and plays really well for you. CV, you haven't had Jair forever. What is allowing you guys to have your guys deliver as the next man up?
Yeah, well, I think Goody's done a good job in his staff of bringing in good depth. You know, I think the assistant coaches have done a good job in preparing those guys, and the importance of not just coaching your starter, but coaching the backups. And, you know, really not doing that in such coach speak. And no, like, it's just as important for you to make sure that guy's ready and to get him to buy in and to give him the confidence to make sure he knows exactly what he's doing. So when his time does come, and in this league it's probably going to come, that they are ready to go, right? I think Zane Anderson is such a good example of that. Today's Thursday, right? Last week at this time, you know, Evan was still healthy and practicing. Evan didn't get hurt until Friday afternoon in practice. Zane didn't get all those practice reps. He barely practiced. That's like a nightmare for a coach, right? There's no rewinding the clock to get Zane all those reps that he needs to play in the game. So, one, credit to Zane. Because if Zane were sitting in the classroom as RD and DA are going over this stuff with him and really not paying attention, like really paying attention, not just saying, what if I get in, right? But no, really paying attention, taking the coaching, going through mental reps, watching when the other guys are out there doing it. And then it's easier, right? It's easier when you're doing something to learn it. But for a guy to take it, seeing it, not really doing it as much, but then get in the game and being ready, I mean, that's a credit to him and the coaches for making sure that he is ready and having the confidence to do it and then showing up like he did, because he played good against the run and the pass, and he was very physical. I mean, so again, I give Zane a lot of credit, and I think the key is for us as coaches to not overcomplicate things. So it's like this, I get in the game and I have no idea what I know. Like, we got to make sure they can play fast. All these guys can play fast and that they're ready to do it. And I think that's a big part of it too. But I mean, there's so many examples. Like we questioned who the Mike was going to be last week. Eric Wilson starts instead of Quay, who Quay was playing really well, and he runs the defense. And you know, we played pretty good defense in the game. That's a credit to him communicating, getting the checks, doing all the things that he's doing. You know, same thing with Keyshawn going in the slot and having one of his better games, right? Because he's been playing at the outside quarter. And then, you know, it's fun to be around this group. They work hard, they're hungry, they get along together, and it's not like the backups are just sitting there. No, they're getting ready to play. And we're going to need that. I mean, we got a lot of football left, and we're going to need all those guys. And we need to make them feel part of that, too. I think that's really important.
So how's your pass defense held up? Obviously, you've had Jair forever, like Jason just mentioned, and you know every team's got a number one receiver. Obviously, Seattle did. You guys played well that game. You're going to face Minnesota here this week. How you guys kind of survived there?
Yeah, I think you got to look at it. It's not how the secondary's done it. We've done it as a team, and we've done it as a defense. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're stressing to these guys right now. When we're defending the pass and Justin Jefferson and all these good wideouts and Sam Darnold, and like, it's not just put it on the DBs. It's what can we do as a defense to make sure that we're playing well back there. We're rushing well. We're sending pressures. We're running good games. We're dropping into different zones, right? We're taking a lot of pride in how we disguise things right now. The players are taking a lot of pride in that right now. So we're doing it together. And I think that's the biggest key to it all right now.
Sean Gary's production has really ramped up. What have you seen from him the last 4, 5, 6 weeks?
He just looks more comfortable, you know, and I think a lot of guys do, because he's playing faster and he's thinking less. And I think Rebs and VO and Wendell are doing a good job of getting him in those positions where he can succeed. I think we have a better grasp of who he is and what he can do well, and I think he has a comfort level right now in what he's doing. And he has played better, and he's gotten a lot of pressure, but he's playing the run game better too. And that's a sign of an unselfish player. He's using his hands. He's setting edges. He's getting off blocks. He's running to the ball. I mean, even in practice today, and I keep going back to that, but it's fresh on my mind. I mean, there's great examples of him just doing great things in the run game, and then he had a great pick today in practice, which, again, you're picking for somebody to come around, and it's unselfish, but then all of a sudden you're the one to pop free, right? So there's complete buy-in right now, which is awesome to see, and it's a credit to him.
Rushing well in general. You feel like you guys have found something these past 2 games that is going to be sustainable with the playoffs coming up?
I do, and it has to be. And I think that we've created depth because we're playing a lot of guys. And I think towards the end of the game, when teams have had to throw the ball, we're fresh, and we look fast out there. And I think they're getting better. And if we're going to make a run at this thing, we're going to have to be.
I know you said you wanted Cooper to be able to play fast and you don't want to overload him, but can you incrementally increase? He's so talented, you know, are there ways to actually highlight him and put a little more on his plate, or do you want to just keep it, you know?
I mean, he was the NFC Player of the Week a week ago, and he led the team in tackles this last week, so I think we are highlighting him. I mean, we're sending him, he's running games, yeah, I mean, I think we're doing a good job of highlighting him right now. I mean, I'm not sure there's much more we can do with him right now. I think as he continues to, develop, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of that right now.
How much difference have you made recently in disguising your coverages? And is that sort of like the last chapter when you install your defense and you teach your technique, and then to be able to get guys to float around in secondary?
Yeah, it's got to be, in order to get good at disguise, which, has always been a big deal to me, and I know it is to the rest of the defensive staff. You really got to know where your end part is first, right? So take a very simple coverage like cover 2, for example. Like, you got to be really good if you're the safety of understanding where you need to end up, where your eyes need to be, how deep you need to be, how wide you need to be. And in order to start over here and get there, you got to be pretty good at that first part first. So we kind of had to wait for these guys to get really good at what they were doing, and then step 2 in the process is tag it with something to disguise it first. But until they get really good at knowing what they're doing and be able to executing it, you kind of want to hold off on that. And the more you go and the further you get, we can continue to have fun with that. And I think it's to the point right now where, guys in the meetings are watching each other, and if one guy's kind of giving it up, they're kind of, calling each other out and having a little fun with it. But I think it is important that they do take pride in that because, at times it makes a quarterback hold the ball for a little bit extra, or it makes the receivers run the wrong route. But you got to be careful because there's times if you get too cute with it and you're out of position, you could give up a big play, and we can't do that. So there's always give and take, but that's important that we study that. It's just you really got to have a good foundation before you kind of put a step before that within the call.
Jeff, when you look at that first matchup with Minnesota, obviously there were turnovers and things like that. You guys were playing on a short field, but in that second half, Minnesota only scored 3 points. I guess what did you see from the defense and just how they played and handled what Minnesota likes to do offensively?
Yeah, well, one, it's a good team, so I don't want to take anything away from them. They got really good players, and I think Kevin does a great job calling it. In the first half, just looking back, we weren't all on the same page. I thought we gave up some things that, hopefully we've cleaned up at this point, whether it was setting an edge, whether it was a guy being in the wrong gap, a guy going the wrong way. And I just felt like we were a little bit off in the first half. I thought we played better in the second half of the game. And then I think we've gotten better in general as the seasons went on. So, it seems like a lifetime ago when you watch that film, but there's certain things that you got to study and learn from it because if we don't correct, it will come back and get us again.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead, Bill.
We can do both.
Thanks.
As long as she doesn't yell at me.
How's Javon looked, and what would it mean to get him back, whether it's this week or whenever you get him back? What would it mean to get Javon back?
Yeah, I think he's taking steps. Certainly be nice to get him back. He brings a physicality to the game, whether he's playing nickel or safety. He's good in the run game. He's aggressive in the pass game. I thought he was playing really good football, and, he's one of our better players. So, hopefully we'll have a chance to get him back and get him going. But, we've certainly missed him.
So, Jeff, look, I've never played for either one of these guys, but both Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell look like pretty damn good head coaches to me. Now that you've worked with Matt and you have history with Kevin, right, in Cleveland and San Francisco, do you see some similarities between them? And having been a head coach yourself, you know, it sure seems like they connect with their guys pretty damn well. I'm just wondering kind of your impressions since you know both of them.
Yeah, I mean, one, I think offensively they're really, really good at what they do. They're very bright. They stay a step ahead of you. They study it really hard. They work hard. I think they're really good play callers. They're very creative. So from that regard, I think they're two of the best in the league. As far as comparing them, their play styles, the one thing I'll say about both of them, they're both great people. They're both extremely honest, and you always know where you stand. They're not afraid of hard conversations, but they treat people the right way. They're demanding, they're not demeaning, and you know, I think that's probably why they both connect so well with their players. But certainly, obviously I think Matt's done an unbelievable job from what he's done here so far and what he's been able to do this year. And you know, I'm a big fan of Kevin as a person, and what he's done this year is, you know, he's had an incredible season. You know, just it will be a challenge for us this week. I'm excited to see him, and I'm excited to get the chance and coach against him again this week.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jordan was, according to my research, 33rd in passer rating against the blitz before the bye and first in the NFL after it. What would you attribute that to?
Yeah, we're definitely going to see a lot of blitzes. I think some of that may have been, you know, his health and stuff like that, and just his confidence. But yeah, it's hard to remember that far back when you're just trying to roll through all that stuff. But as of late, I think he's done a really good job making decisions. He's done a really good job creating time in the pocket, getting out of trouble, and finding some plays down the field. So I think that's probably attributed to anything. It's just his ability to move around and make some plays.
Do you subscribe to Matt Schneidman's stats and information? Or?
There are no subscribers.
There's a bunch of different theories on stats, But, yeah, they're always interesting.
When you look at what you've been able to do against pressure, though, and what is Jordan at, 11 sacks? I know he missed a couple of games, but just how do you kind of feel about the protection racket as a whole all year?
You know, as a, an O-line guy, you're always, on edge at all times for that. So you never feel good about your protection because there's always issues. Now, when you play a team like the Vikings, there's a lot of issues. So we'll find out after this game where we're at, when it comes to that stuff. But these guys do an excellent job scheming blitzes. They bring all kinds of people, linebackers, DBs, and just they have good rushers too. So if they don't bring pressure, you still got to be on it because they have really good players. So across the board, they're a really good defense when it comes to creating pressure on the quarterback.
And what makes them so effective against the run, too? Just the kind of numbers that they've put up this year.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys in the box, and they kind of play from the front end to the back end as far as like they'll still be in too high, but they'll have guys down at the line of scrimmage and then they'll bail out. But in the run game, they'll be down there. They do a good job moving up front. There's a lot of movements that create advantageous looks for them or open guys. And then the pressure, they bring guys from every direction, so they can create a lot of negative plays, if you're mistargeted or you don't see a guy blitzing and you're not ready for it. So it's a big challenge, and these guys do a really good job, so it'll be a fun game for us.
You've got a lot of interceptions. Obviously, the pressure starts there, but is there, you've seen Harrison Smith forever too, but is there like a real standout in that secondary?
Yeah, I think Murphy, 7, he's got excellent ball skills and does a really good job tracking it. And, anytime, and it happened in our game last time we played him, quarterback gets into trouble and just tries to throw one up. I think these guys do a really good job coming down with the ball. So we really have to be on top of it as far as the decisions that we make with the football so that we don't turn it over. But these guys do a really good job just getting the quarterback to make a bad decision and then make them pay, with their guys in the back end. And also you see a lot of batted balls up front. I think their D-line does a good job getting their hand on the ball as it's coming out of the quarterback's hands. And they've gotten a few interceptions that way too, where it's just balls batted up. And they got their guys there to pick it off. So, yeah, they're very ball aware.
What was the process like with your offensive line when Jacobs comes in this season after Jonesy last year, just in terms of getting them to two backs, both great, but both very different, getting them to understand how to block for a guy like Jacobs after doing very different last year?
Yeah, it's kind of a work in progress. I think, it's hard, in the off season to kind of get your run game going with the lack of pads. You can't really do much in OTAs just with the lack of contact and all that stuff. And obviously, if you want to be a good running team, you have to practice it, and practice coming off the ball, practice your combinations. So it took a while as we got into camp to kind of just get a feel for what Josh, what his style of running was. So yeah, I think, and then even as the season was progressing, it was kind of a work in progress there too. But I think the guys are enjoying it, and Josh is doing a great job up front. We're doing a good job, and yeah, it's been good.
When do you feel like it was that they really kind of, the light went on, because it's been pretty damn good, obviously?
I think when Jordan went down and we said, all right, we're going to have to really lean on the run game and make that a big, even more of who we are to give ourselves a chance to win. I think that was kind of where we really, really, really saw, okay, we got something here because of the success we had. And then obviously, you just build from that as you go.
So the end arounds, giving a ball to the receiver, is that just something you use against a certain defensive set, or is it something you want teams to be aware of that hey, we might run that?
Yeah, that's definitely something you want teams to to be alert for. Just anytime you can just spread the field out and kind of keep everyone on edge that, you know, even though that receiver's over there, he could still get the ball. I think that's, you know, a big threat for the offense. And I like how we've been spreading it around to different guys, so they can't just hone in on one person or anything like that.
Potential for even more than what you got out of those
There's always
runs?
potential for more. Yeah. Yeah.
What have you seen out of Van Ginkel? He's always been a pretty decent player, but the numbers this year are pretty wild.
Well, with them, you can tell he's a very intelligent player because of the different roles that they use him in, where he'll be on the edge doing his thing there, then they'll bump him back to linebacker. They'll play him in different personnels. And then he's just an extremely instinctive player. Just, you know, you can tell he studies the game. He can kind of get a feel for what's happening. He's got a knack for the ball. Like I talked about guys getting interceptions. He's one of those guys that has a couple. So, yeah, he's a really good player. And he's got good size, good range. But, yeah, he's a problem.
We peppered you with questions when Wicks was dropping passes, and we haven't even brought him up in the last month. And, sorry, I wasn't gonna ask about drops, I was gonna ask about how well he's kind of retraced his steps and gotten things going. What have you seen from him? What's been different about him?
Yeah, I think, you know, after the issue with that, he kind of put some extra work in with the receiver coaches, Coach Mahaffey, Vrabel, Miles, before practice, after practice, and he's doing it, you know, you see him out there in the creek just working at it with the jugs machine and stuff, and it's you know, credit to him, just like going out there and putting in the work to, if you got a problem, it's not just gonna fix itself, you gotta go out in there and fix it, so, yeah, he's done a good job with that.
Everybody talks about how much Brian changes the looks in his pass coverage with the Vikings defense. Do they run that many stunts up front to on the defensive line?
Yeah, they do. They run all kinds of games. And again, they'll bring, you know, 44, they'll bring the linebackers, they'll bring Harrison Smith. You know, there's all kinds of people they'll bring off the edges or in through the interior gaps. But yeah, they do a really good job disguising their coverages, and just a lot of different looks off of that. So yeah, it's a challenge for quarterbacks to try and figure out what's going on pre-snap.
Are there ways for, you know, when you're running a stunt and the guy defensive tackle crashes down into your guard and kind of drives him out of it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you defend something? What can the guard do there in that situation?
Yeah, you just gotta, the biggest thing is getting as much depth as you can in order to, you know, just try and pick off the stunt. And then the biggest thing when you're trying to pick up twists is to, whoever that penetrating guy is, you gotta do a good job hitting them to make sure you flatten it out so the guy doesn't get picked. So it's kind of works both ways.
So I know he didn't play a whole heck of a lot, but was it an important step last week to get Luke back out there at least and get him back to the field? What did you get out of that?
Yeah, I think for him, just the confidence of going out there, you know, getting 10 snaps or whatever he got and running around, I think it's just, you know, that was step one. Now we can just build from there, and just increase his workload every week until he's just, you know, normal. So, and I anticipate him, you know, just playing more snaps and being more involved in the game plan this week. So, yeah, it's been great. I'm excited for him to get out there and play some ball.
You know, early in the year, obviously, Sean was splitting time. When you look at the season that he's now put together, you know, Tausch and I talk to Balaga every week, and he's always talking about how good Sean looks. I'm just curious what you see when you watch him, and what do you think of a guy who, at one point, you weren't sure if he could play full games to now doing what he's done this season?
No, it's a tribute to him, and I'm proud of him. Like, he works so hard and is just such a good team guy, that you're happy for guys like that, where as they progress in their careers, you can just see the player that they're becoming, and they're doing a good job. And so, yeah, I'm proud of him, and how he's worked and just kind of the work he's put forth to get where he is. That's a tribute to him for sure.
Still, to go back to Josh, obviously, I mean, probably knew what you were getting when he came here, but to see that durability, the workload, the stiff arms, all those things, did that even become even more of like an eye-popping, like, just a surprise to see?
Yeah, you know, when you're around it and you see it live, you're just like, every game, there's a couple things where you're just like, holy cow, this guy's special. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun. And not only that, just like the kind of guy that he is. He's just such a hard worker and tough guy that just brings people along with him, that he's a very big influence on this team.
Watching the film from when you guys played Minnesota earlier in the season, just what do you see differently about the offense that stands out from where you guys are now to that long ago?
Yeah, the first half, you know, when you go back and look at that game, it just makes you sick to your stomach at the lack of execution, the penalties, just the bad ball that we had on those first few drives. So, you know, then you watch the second half and we come back and all that. So you know that obviously we have the talent, we can make plays, but when you play good defenses, if you don't execute and you give them, you know, free yards with penalties and all kinds of stuff like that, it's going to be a long day. So we got to make sure we're on our stuff when we go there on Sunday.
Steno, can I ask you an annoying process question? Matt mentioned, I mean, as opposed to my other annoying questions. Matt mentioned that you guys took a play that you saw from Minnesota and you used it against Houston, and it ended up in an interception. I know Matt likes to go through all the games and take different stuff. How does that work? Like, you guys, you see something from Team X, then what? Then how quickly can you turn it around and put it into something that you guys can actually use?
Yeah, I mean, it just all depends on kind of what they're doing, the personnel that you have. You know, does this fit kind of what players we have? And maybe last year at this point, or, you know, when you got a bunch of young guys, you're like, nope, I don't even want to think about that. But now we got experienced guys, so if a new concept comes up or something new comes up, I think for the most part we feel pretty comfortable at least trying to introduce it if you think it's going to help the team and be a good play. So, yeah, I think now if you rep it and you feel good about it, the quarterback feels good about it, and the other players who have to execute it, then, yeah, let it rip.
I know how creative you are coming up with your own ideas, but do you watch other those clips too and take ideas?
I mean, you watch, you know, when they're playing the opponent, you watch it, but a lot of times I do more like self-scout stuff and what have we done, and then what can we do off of what we've done. That's where I kind of look at things. But yeah, as you're game planning and watching stuff, and you always get ideas. So it's a combination of both, I guess.
You guys good?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.